Hey, what's up? Hope everyone is doing all right. So we are on week 18. The readings for this week is 2 Kings 19 through 1 Chronicles 12. Remember, so if you read the Bible in 50 different sections, you get through the Bible in 1 year. And so we are on the 17th section of the readings, and the readings of this one, like I said, is 2 Kings 19 through 1 Chronicles 12. Um, so, it seems like for most of the Bible up to this point, it's pretty much in chronological order. Everything is, I think I talked about this last week, but everything is Genesis, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. I think is the first four, but everything is chronological order until you get to Chronicles, and then Chronicles is like not chronological order anymore. It's just going back and it's kind of going over really the beginning, at least in this first Chronicles, the beginning until David. And so it's like the very beginning, it doesn't talk too much about Adam. It doesn't talk about a lot about Moses. It doesn't talk a lot about each of these things that happen. It goes over in chronological order until the carrying away of, I think it's the carrying away of Babylon. And so this is like, it's just mostly talking about the genealogy and where each family is and where they come from and how each of these like kind of pertain, or how these are important and what they did. And so it is like a lot of it's saying the same thing over again. So it has like a lot of the same ideas or the same events or the same people, but it's just mainly going through like a chronological, like a genealogy viewpoint. And so since it's in the Bible, we can see that it's really important. And so the question arises is chronological, is genealogy as important as it was in the Old Testament is now today? And I would say probably not, because, it talks about being a Jew now, if you're Jewish, you're circumcision of the heart, not of the flesh. And so at this point, it was really important in the Old Testament. You have in the past that genealogy or who you were born to is really important. Now it's not necessarily who you're born to, it's who you are. And so it's still, I don't even know if it has really any importance anymore. And so, why was it important in the Old Testament and why is it not important now? I think in the Old Testament it's probably because, although women cheat on their husband, there was adultery. It seemed to be like there was a lot more women making sure that they did not like sleep with other men and have different children. If they did, they would kind of know of it. Now it's like you don't know it's really hard to know whose kid is who anymore. They have this saying, mama's baby, dad is maybe. And because of the environment that we're in, it's hard to know whose kid is whose kid, and it doesn't really matter anymore. In the Old Testament, I think that people would know whose kid is whose kid, and so this was kept pure, and because of this, there was a lot of importance into it. But now, because it's not kept pure anymore, and there's just not that much importance to it anymore, and if it was, then it would be even more of a problem than it is now. There used to be cheated on your husband, you'd be killed, and so cheating on your husband and like having someone else's kid wasn't like as prominent as today, when now it's like a reward. You're like, it's thought of in society as like kind of a higher thing to do. I think women are praised for cheating, and at least a lot of aspects of pop culture, the drama and all the stuff that arises from it. And they have a lot of pride instead of being pleased with themselves or having someone pleased with them. They have a lot of pride when it comes to having someone else's kid, and then having someone else raise their kid or someone else's kid. And so like having multiple men in their lives and being able to manipulate and be able to control the environment is something that's praised in the society, when in the Old Testament, in the Jewish tradition, it was, and I think probably in a lot of the traditions, it was not something that was praised, it was something that was punished. And so now you have it to where the genealogy of not knowing who not knowing who is your dad is praised, and then in the Old Testament it was punished. And so you have this difference. And so since it's praised now and not punished, then it's just not as important because it can't be kept. And I'm not sure why this is. There's probably multiple factors of how we've come to a place in the world where women are praised instead of punished for cheating on their husbands or cheating on their men. Not obviously in all sections are they praised, but in the majority of the environments and majority of pop culture, it sends the message that cheating is something that is praised. And I would imagine in the Old Testament, in that area, it was something that was almost always punished. And so I think that's why lineage is not as important as it is now, and it was more important back then. And so Monday I have Isaiah the son of Amoz, and so you have Isaiah is mentioned, and he's mentioned. Hezekiah sends, goes to him and says that when he gets besieged by I think that's the Syrians, I forget exactly who it is, but besieges Hezekiah, and then he goes and he inquires of Isaiah, and Isaiah relays a message to him that the city isn't going to be besieged, it's not going to fall into the hands of the besiegers, but in fact they're going to God's going to defend them, and because they reproach the living God. So this is one of my favorite. This is one of the most powerful events I like in the Bible, to be honest, because I think that you have a man who is in charge of an area, and although he doesn't seem to be perfect, he is reproached, or he's being attacked by people that are far more imperfect than him, and they think that they are going to be able to beat God. And Hezekiah doesn't say I'm great. He just says that these people they are saying that you're nothing, and because these people are saying that God's nothing, he has no power, then he saves the city. And he doesn't do it by the act of men or by using men. He just literally sends an angel, and he kills 150,000 people that are besieging the city in one night. And so I think this is a very powerful event that happens. And if you have history in academia, it makes reality seem a lot different. And so academia steals reality from men by providing or by saying that reality is different than it is, and so they're thieves. Not only are they liars, but they're thieves. They thieve reality, and they thieve perception, and they steal what reality is, a perception of reality from man. They steal the truth. So not only do they deceive, but also they steal the truth from man. And you do this by saying that reality is one way, instead of saying to a man like, hey, what about this? They say this is what it is. And so they say, well, what about this view of reality? So they don't offer like a different opinion or different viewpoint of reality, which is deceiving. But they are saying reality is something different, so then now they're stealing. So then not only do they deceive by saying, I guess it's not really deception, by saying, offering a different viewpoint, but they deceive. And by, I guess, if you deceive, are you always stealing? If you're a liar, you're also a thief. If you're a thief, doesn't mean that you're a liar, but if you're a liar, you're also a thief. And so this seems to be a so I think that's really what it is. I think I think that because I'm just trying to think about this right now, and I was watching a YouTube video, and they were talking about this, and not in a biblical standpoint, it's actually in a Star Wars standpoint. So that arises another question: can you get information on the internet that's valid or that has validity to it? And I think there's a lot of kernel of truth inside deception, or inside of mainstream pop culture, and I think that there's kernels of truth in these things, and I think people try to relay messages the best they can. But at any rate, if you're a thief, you're a thief, but if you're a liar, you're a thief, and you're also a liar, because not only are you lying and you're deceiving, but you're also stealing. So I think that thievery is predicate to being a liar, but I think being a liar is the advancement of sin in many different departments. I think that being a deceiver and being a liar is, it's pretty far along the lines of sinning and doing things wrong. I'm just so against deception. I'm so against liars, man. I just really, really think that that's such a huge problem. And in my life, and I think it just, you rob people of everything. You take from them, like, everything. So it's like you're lying, but you're also stealing. I really dislike I really like deceivers, man. I really dislike them, man. I really dislike deceivers. I really dislike liars. I think it's just such a bad thing, man. It's just such a horrible thing to do. And so Tuesday I have King Josiah, and he's the one that, he got the book after Hezekiah died, and his son, I think Manasseh, ruled for like forever, and then Manasseh was really bad, and then Manasseh's kid was really bad. He only served for a little bit, and then King Josiah came, and he returned, he got the book. He found the book in the temple. He restored the temple, but he also got the book. He read in front of the people, and the people changed, and he just went on a crusade and just wrecked all the evil things that were in the land, and reformed everything and destroyed all the evil stuff. And he was just super, super good. And then he had a feast at the end of all of it, a celebration. And so King Josiah was super cool, man. He did a lot, really good for a lot of the people. And for whatever reason, he's not mentioned or like thought of inside of Christian pop culture or the modern day authority of Christianity. When you go to churches, you don't hear too much about King Josiah, but he did a lot, man. He went and he wrecked a lot of the different incorrect viewpoints of the time. But because Manasseh was so wretched and so bad that he Israel was still taken away. And so you have King Josiah, which is I have on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I have Hilkiah the priest, and then on Thursday I have Huldah the prophetess, and so she was actually in a college, and so it's like one of the only times the Bible ever mentions the word college, but she was and it's in parentheses, but she was in the college of the town or the area, and Hilkiah was a priest, and Josiah was a king. So you have these three people. You have the Josiah the king, you have Hilkiah the religious authority, and I think you have Huldah the prophetess, I think she represented kind of the wisdom of the land, because she was in the college, and so she was probably very prominent in the college, and so she represented the wisdom of the land. And you have Hilkiah represented the religious authority, and then you had King Josiah, which represented the authority of man, and they were all in agreement of the right thing to do. And because of these three people, they were probably the prominent in their field, the strongest in their field, they were able to rid the land of all the immoral behaviors, or at least all of the immoral leaders. And so you have this unity of the wisdom, the priest and the prophet, or the wisdom, or maybe even you have it would probably be the priests, the religious authority, the wisdom, and the authority of man. All these things are probably the leaders of these, and you have this unity of what the correct thing was to do between these three. And because these three were in unity, they were able to purge the land of all the evil authorities that were governing it. And so I think this is a very good example of what can be done, or what should be done, or the way that these things can be done. If you can have, the wisdom, the leader of wisdom, which would be a kind of the teaching, the academia, and then you have the leader of men, which is the king, and then you have the prophet, or the leader of the spiritual kind of reformation, or the spiritual leader. Then you can bring great change about the land. And I don't think you necessarily have to have these three, but I think that having these three is very powerful. And then I have Friday, I have Jehoiachin, king of Judah, and I have in the parentheses, should he have a day? So I'm not exactly sure who he is, but since I put it in parentheses, he was almost certainly not like a good person. And so, like, do we want to have a day that we think about somebody who wasn't good? And if the Bible has somebody in there, then I think it's important of reflection. But it's definitely something that is definitely worth thought. And that's today, is Friday. So, but yeah, the Bible is super awesome. I'm personally making a lot of mistakes in my life, but I had like this idea where, if you hide yourself from the world, you're not going to make a lot of sinful mistakes. If you go out into the world and you do battle with the evils of the world and then the ideas of the world, then you're just going to be more likely to make more mistakes because you're making more decisions, you're having more temptations, and so you're going to likely to fall more. And so which one is better, and it's what God wants you to do at any given time, I think is the right move to make. And the only way to know what that is by living in the truth and having the Holy Spirit guide you. But I'm hoping that there is more forgiveness, and when you have to make more mistakes, and then when you have more, if you fall victim to more temptation and you have to make more choices, that there's more forgiveness in the sins that you have. It might be the opposite though. Maybe you're supposed to, if you can't handle it, then you're supposed to just hide and stay away from these things. And so there is definitely that viewpoint of reality that might be better. And so I'm just trying to figure out the right thing to do. So, like I always say, hopefully I'll make these videos a lot more palpable, a lot more entertaining, and not more entertaining, but just more visually and just more palpable. If I do it in the morning and I drink coffee and I have a lot more energy and I do the video the first thing, it'd be a lot better. And if I have I have a setup that I can use that's just more easy on the eyes. That right now I'm just really busy, and my priority isn't making these videos great. Like, my priority is always to read the Bible and reflect on these things. But my priority isn't making these videos great right now. And so hopefully, or maybe one day, I'll be able to change my priorities. I'll have different things that I can do where I can prioritize making these videos more better, or just more better. Anyway, hope everyone's doing okay. God bless and happy truth seeking.